You are listening to A Path to New You, a podcast about mental health and veterans issues. I'm your host, Timothy Zarumsky. I am a therapist located in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm a veteran. I served in the United States Navy from 2001 to 2009. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, now Audible, and of course, Spotify. I try to do an episode a week. Sometimes it's every 2 weeks, depending how busy I am and depending how life goes. But I try to do an episode at least once a week. I do have a Facebook page for this podcast, which is called The Path. It's also called The Path to New You, where I post um, things on mental health related topics, self care topics, and even some like veteran issue topics. I'll also post a link to this podcast on there as well, so that if you don't know where to find it, you can click on that link and it'll take you to one of the platforms that my podcast is on. I do run my own private practice as well, which is located in Madison, Wisconsin. New Beginnings Counseling LLC. Also have a Facebook page for that as well. If you could like it and follow, that'd be great. I do post mental health, self care, and the current events that related to self mental health as well and veteran issues. I usually post up there, maybe not daily, but every now and again, a couple times a week. I will also post a link to this podcast on there as well. I'm trying to get more people to listen. Hence, that's why it's on more platforms now. Before it just started on Spotify, but now we got four other platforms where it's on, which is great. My what I want to do is I want to educate people on mental health as well as veterans issues. Now, a lot of people know about like these different symptoms and whatnot. I'm trying to educate people on it so people can learn a little bit more about a certain topic, a certain disorder, or whatever I'm talking about for the episode. This podcast is sponsored by New Beginnings Counseling LLC, a veteran and private practice. Private pay, private practice. They currently see patients via Zoom. They do have an office, but currently they're seeing people virtually. They do not have a wait list. So if you're looking for a therapist, um, reach out to them or to me because I'm the one that owns it. We currently are private pay, extremely affordable. If you cannot afford what we charge, we will definitely work with you. Specialize in anger management, PTSD, depression, anxiety, addiction. You can call or text the number 608 571 3896 just to if you have questions or do you want like to schedule an appointment. Again, that number is 608 571 3896. You could also reach out via Facebook on the New Beginnings Counseling Facebook page and just message there and I would get I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Usually at the end of the day or in the morning is when I check my voice messages and check my social media, see if anyone's reached out. Again, that number is 608 571 3896. I know there's plenty of other practices out there that have like a 6 month wait list. New Beginnings Counseling does not have a wait list. Plus, we are veteran owned. So if you're a veteran and you're looking for services, please reach out. I will definitely work with you. I'm a veteran as well. So I know maybe not everything that you're going through, but maybe some of the things you're going through. So definitely I can relate to what you're going through for the most part. Anyway, let's get started. So, did you know this week is Mental Health Awareness Week from October 2nd until the 6th? It's Mental Health Awareness Week. This week, All different organizations, such as NAMI, is one that they will post stuff about mental health, like statistics and information about resources and information about different disorders. So they educate people on mental health awareness. I know the stigma's still there. It's not as bad as it was before. I think it improved quite a bit during the pandemic, where pre-pandemic people were kind of like, nah, I don't want to see a therapist. It feels I'm weak or whatever. But since the pandemic, people have actually wanted to seek help. Anyway, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week. And this episode, I want to talk about mental health awareness. So, what exactly is mental health? That's a good question. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make our choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behavior could be affected. So there's several different mental health conditions and disorders. Mental health illnesses are disorders ranging from mild to severe that affects a person's thinking, mood, and or behavior. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, nearly 1 in 5 adults live with a mental illness. And of course, there are factors that contribute to the mental health conditions, which include biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry, life experiences such as trauma or abuse, and then family history of mental health problems. There's some disorders out there. There's antisocial personality disorder, anxiety disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, depression, eating disorders. Eating disorders, there's a few out there like anorexia, binge eating, bulimia, post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD for short, schizophrenia, seasonal affective disorder or SAD, self harm, suicide, and suicide behavior. A serious mental illness is a mental illness that interferes with a person's life and ability to function. Despite common misperceptions, having a serious mental illness is not a choice, a weakness, or a character flaw. It is not something that just passes away or can be snapped out of it. Some people say, hey, snap out of it, snap out of it. These illnesses, these serious mental illness, that's not something you can just snap out of it. There are some warning signs and symptoms out there for those disorders or those mental illnesses. Um, some of them, I'm just going to lift off a couple of them. Some of them is eating or sleeping too much or too little, pulling away from people and usual activities. That means usual activities is things you usually do on a daily basis or like hobbies where all of a sudden you're not doing that stuff anymore. Having low or no energy, feeling numb or like nothing matters. Having unexplained aches and pains, that could be another one. And then there's other symptoms that include range of feelings. There's feelings, emotions, and stuff like that. So, such as shifts in mood, sadness, anxiety, irritability, low energy, delusions, hallucinations, and sleep problems. Those are just some of the symptoms and signs of some mental illnesses. A lot of the mental illnesses actually got some sort of symptom in it. The ones I listed off are the most common. So what exactly, you're talking about mental health. Do I have a mental illness? One thing I do realize or do know or have seen, people would say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this because I have let's say depression or I have OCD." I get a lot of that where people be like, I'm OCD, all because this and this and this and this. I'm like, well, have you actually been diagnosed with OCD? Like, no. Then technically you shouldn't be saying something like that because just that's yeah, we just shouldn't be saying that. Or I hear, oh, the weather's bipolar today or been bipolar this whole week. Yeah, I shouldn't be saying that, something like that. That's not nice. I kind of call people out. If I hear people say that, I call them out on it because, I'm like, that's not something you should say. So, what are serious mental illnesses? I think we talked a little bit about this just recently. With early and consistent treatment, people with serious mental illnesses can manage their conditions, overcome challenges, and lead meaningful, productive lives. Mental illnesses are disorders that affect a person's thinking, mood, and or behavior. Did mention that earlier. And they can range from mild to severe, like I mentioned earlier. So again, mental illnesses, they can interfere with person's life, ability to function. That's called, again, a serious mental illness. Some of the well-known, most known serious mental illnesses can include like bipolar disorder, which is a brain disorder that causes intense shifts in mood, energy, and activity levels. People have manic episodes in which they feel extremely happy or energized. Someone with bipolar who hasn't been on their meds. There are times where they're manic where they'll be up for like 4 days straight and just clean 4 days straight with no sleep. So that'd be like a manic episode. They also have depressive episodes in which they feel deeply sad and have low energy and could probably sleep for days. Major depressive disorder is one of the most common mental disorders. Symptoms vary from person to person, but also could include sadness, hopelessness, anxiety, pessimism, irritability, worthlessness, and fatigue. These symptoms interfere with a person's ability to work, sleep, eat, and enjoy their life. Schizophrenia is another one. It's a chronic and severe mental disorder that causes people to interpret reality abnormally. People may experience hallucinations, delusions, extremely disordered thinking, and a reduced ability to function in their daily life. Again, I want to mention this again. Having a serious mental illness is not a choice. It's not a weakness or a character flaw. Again, like I want to mention again, it is not something that just passes away or something you can snap out of. No, you can manage it with treatment, which I'm going to talk here in a minute about, and also with support. There's a support system. I keep telling my patients, hey, what's your support system look like? Some of them are like, what are you talking about? And then I mentioned your support could be family, friends, relatives, someone you can talk to about your situation who might help you get through what you're going through. So that's the support system. And then again, you got family history, brain chemistry, family history. One of the questions I ask in a intake would be like, do you have any family history of mental illnesses? Some are like depression, which is a it's genetic, it's family history with alcoholism. Alcoholism is another one. And again, significant life events such as experience of trauma or death or a loved one. Again, the military, you go out to war, you see people being killed left and right. That's a traumatic event. That could definitely become like a mental illness where you get flashbacks, stuff like that. One of these episodes, I will be talking more about PTSD and the symptoms and treatment of PTSD. Just not today. Today, I'm just gonna go talking about overall, talk about different disorders and just a brief summary of what they are, and then a treatment, some sort of treatment and stuff. So today is more like just providing information, educating those on um, mental health, since it's Mental Health Awareness Week. So one of the last things I want to talk about is building your support system and these treatments for these mental illnesses. So if you or someone you know has mental health issues, it can be very important and helpful to talk about these issues with other people, friends, family, your therapists. It can be scary to reach out for help, but it's also the first step to helping you heal, grow, and recover. I know there's where that stigma comes in, where, if I reach out for help, I'm considered weak, especially for us military people. When we're in basic training, we were taught to be tough. We got to be tough. So reaching out for help, you know, sound we could make us feel weak, like we're reaching out for help. But we're taught to be tough in the military. That could be happening to anybody besides the military too. Is reaching out for help. That's the first step. Knowing you have an issue and then reaching out for help. Having a good support system and engaging with trustworthy people are key elements to successfully talking about your own mental health. So building your support system. Um, find someone such as a parent, family member, teacher, could be a priest, healthcare provider, or other trusted individuals who, they'll give you good advice when you ask, assist you in taking actions that would help or pointing you in the right direction. Likes, respects, and trusts you, and is someone you like, respect, and trust as well. Allows you the space to change, grow, make decisions, and even make mistakes. Listens to you and shares with you both the good and the bad times. Respects your need for confidentiality, so you can tell them pretty much anything. Confidentiality, that's a huge part in the mental health field, where we are everything's with us is confidential unless you're gonna say you're gonna hurt someone or yourself or somebody else. Unless you freely express and validates your feelings and emotions without judging, teasing, or criticizing you. Works with you to figure out what to do the next time a difficult situation comes up. And then also has a best interest in mind. You can also find a peer support group. These are a group of people who are they're dealing with the same situation you are. Peer support relationships can positively affect individual recovery. Recovery could be from mental illness, could be from alcohol. So there are certain peer support groups out there throughout the community. You just gotta look them up on like Google. Then Google, you can look up peer support groups, and I'm sure there's a list of them that come up. So peer support, when I say peer support, the question might be, what exactly is a peer support? So support, I just mentioned this. People who have common life experiences and have a unique ability to help each other. So they have the same situation that's going on. People offer their experiences, strengths, and hopes to peers, which allows for the natural evolution of personal growth, wellness promotion, and recovery. Peers can be very supportive since they have been there and served as living examples that individuals can and do recover. So a lot of them have been there. For instance, they could have been an alcoholic in the past, so they're going through recovery. So they're working with someone who is an alcoholic, and they're using their experience to help that alcoholic understand what's going on and helps them through recovery. So he's been there, done that. Peers also serve as advocates and support others who may experience discrimination and prejudice. And there's also different kinds of treatment as well. There's talk therapy. There's different types of therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectic, dialectical behavior therapy. Um, there's a few other ones out there too. I will talk about those in a different episode where I'll actually go into depth and detail what each of them are. I think one of the most common one would be cognitive behavioral therapy. I do that, and I also do some dialectical behavioral therapy. There's group therapy as well. Um, yeah, there's all different. There's different kinds of therapy. And then you got medications, of course, that will help you recover, help you get through your situation. Again, I tell my clients this: medications won't do 100% of the work. I tell my clients it's like 70% you and the other 30% is the medications. So if you're not doing your part and you just rely on your medications, it's not going to work. I tell them that it's not going to work. And a lot of these medications too, they will take a couple, like a week or two before they start working. So you got to keep taking them on a daily basis. But if you skip a dose, the medication won't work as quickly. If that makes sense. I'll talk more about that too in a different episode. Not just this one. Not this one. This one I'm just more talking, educating, and stuff like that. Um, Develop a recovery plan. Develop a plan like a treatment plan. I always do these treatment plans for my clients. They find out what their goal is. Enable you to identify goals for achieving wellness. So I do. I ask my clients, hey, what's your goal? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve while in treatment? Specify what you can do to reach those goals. Like, hey, this is what goal I want to do. And then I ask, hey, how do you think you're going to achieve this goal? What can I do to help you achieve this goal? Can be daily activities as well as long term goals. I do a few long term goals and a lot of short term goals. Track your mental health problem. Identify triggers or other stressful events that can make you feel worse and help you learn how to manage them. I've worked in a nonprofit where we work with clients who have like a death in a family who or something happened during a holiday season. So when that holiday comes up, we work with that client and try to figure out what they can do to so that when that comes, they won't be triggered and they won't have an episode of some sort. So we work ahead. We work for what might happen in the future to help them out. If that makes sense. Again, mental health treatment works. Talk therapy works. It doesn't work overnight. It takes a while. It could take a while before it finally starts working. Medications work. You just might take a minute, take a while for it to start working. Um, if you the quicker you go into treatment, the better off you are. Because the longer you wait, the worse it can get. Prime example would be someone who has like depression or is anxiety or has a mental illness, and then they start self medicating with alcohol or drugs. So now you got two different things you got to work on. One's the mental health, and then the other one is the addiction because you're self medicating instead of reaching out for help right away on your mental health issue. The person starts drinking, and yeah, it might help in the short, in the now it might help, but in the long run, that's situation that you and your therapist have to work with, because here you are not only with your mental health issue, but you also got an addiction. So yeah, reach out for help and get help sooner than later. That's what I tell everybody. Just say, hey, I've got an issue going on. I'm trying to try and find therapy, but I'm not sure. And I'm like, well, I have an opening. Here's my card. Call me, or you can text this number too and reach out and we can figure something out. And I tell you, I've probably in the last like 2 weeks, I've given my card out to probably about 7 or 8 people, and maybe one of them contacted me. Hey, but it is what it is. I'm like, hey, you reach out. I'm private pay, but I'll definitely work with you. And I have over 15 years experience in the field and whatnot. So yeah, it just takes time. Eventually, the person might look at it and it's like, you know what? Now is the time I need help. So yeah, reach out, get help before it gets worse. There are some tips for living with a mental health condition. Again, a mental health situation condition can make work a struggle. Work struggle with work. Keeping up with school, sticking to a regular schedule, having healthy relationships, socializing, maintaining hygiene, and more. So, a mental health condition could make those things a little worse or hard to do. However, with early and consistent treatment, often a combination of medications and psychotherapy, it is possible to manage these conditions, overcome challenges, and lead a meaningful, productive life. Today, there are so many different tools and so many different evidence based treatments and so many social support groups out there that, everything's available. You just got to go for it and look for it. Or reach out to someone who knows where to go. So then that person can help you find that. If you're looking for like a support group, or if you're looking for therapy, or you're looking for whatever you're looking for, find the right person, and that person might be able to find the next person or just point you in the right direction. Again, you want to stick to a treatment plan when you're talking to your therapist and they create a treatment plan. You should stick to that treatment plan. Again, I update our treatment plan with the clients probably every 2 months or 3 months, where we update it, we change the goals. Some of those goals were achieved, so we create some more goals. So every now and then, the treatment plan is updated. Keep your primary care physician updated on what's going on as well. Even if you call them and you talk to one of their nurses, just let them know what's going on. You can educate yourself on the condition as well. Say, hey, you got depression or bipolar disorder. You can always educate yourself on that disorder and see, oh, yeah, these are the symptoms I have. This is what I can do to help manage those symptoms. Being educated can help you stick to your treatment plan. Education can also help your loved ones to be more supportive and compassionate. Practice good self care. Control your stress with activities such as meditation, eating healthy, and exercise, and get enough sleep. That's all self care stuff. Reach out to family and friends when you need to. Maintaining relationships with others is important. In times of crisis or rough spells, reach out to them for support and help. Develop coping skills. Establish healthy coping skills can help people deal with stress easier. And that's another thing I do with my clients when I see them. We develop coping skills because some of them who come see me have never been to therapy before, and we talk about coping skills, and then I talk to them, educate them about what coping skills are, and I give them some ideas what coping skills are, and they're like, "Oh, that's a coping skill." Yep, and that could definitely help your situation too. And another thing, get enough sleep. Good sleep improves your brain performance, mood, and overall health. Consistently poor sleep is associated with anxiety, depression, and other mental health conditions. Get enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, drink enough water, hydrating enough, practice self care. All that stuff can help with your mental health condition. And again, reaching out and doing therapy and getting medications and stuff. So again, the sooner you reach out for help, you get help, the better you are. The longer you wait, the, the, the more tough, I guess, the more tough it can be to help with that condition, especially if you're using self medication to help with your situation. Again, it might work now where you're like self medicating, but in the long run, you're not just adding another one, you're adding another situation to that mental health. So again, you'll be working with your mental health condition as well as addiction. And we don't want that. So reach out for help. Again, you are listening to A Path to a New You. Um, like I mentioned earlier, I try to do one episode a week. If you know someone or you yourself would like to be a guest on my show, please reach out. Um, Reach out either via my Facebook page, Path to a New You, or you can call my number, 608-571-3896, and just text or call me, leave a voice message if I don't pick up. That number is 608-571-3896. Again, you can find my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, um, Apple Music, and Audible. Audible is owned by Amazon, so that Apple Music or Amazon Music and Audible. Amazon owns Audible, so when I post it, the new episode on Amazon Music, it goes right to Audible. Again, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. Those are the platforms you can find my podcast on. Again, if you want to be a guest or you know someone wants to be a guest, please reach out. I'd like to have more guests on my show. I just had one a couple weeks ago, and there's a couple that I'm gonna have down the road from now. But the more guests I have, the better because it's me talking the whole time. I like to have someone else on this program, on this episode, or on this podcast who knows a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Anyway, you're listening to A Path to a New You, and I hope every one of you has a great day, rest of the day, and be well. Until next time, you are listening to A Path to a New You.